After doing a great deal of research, I believe that many of you will discover some extremely helpful information regarding the price swings of XRP, and in today's video, I will discuss that. Overall, I believe that by the time we finish, the importance of the information I'm offering will be evident. I want to start by discussing the recent upswing in the prices of Bitcoin, XRP, the S&P 500, and almost every other market. The S&P 500 has opened extremely well, increasing more than $1,200 billion in market capitalization in only the last 2 sessions. Additionally, we're getting ready for a strong Monday. All things considered, XRP is also doing pretty well. It's increasing by a few percentage points, and both Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market are showing this trend. The reason for this is because weekends tend to be somewhat slow. The weekends don't see a lot of trading. This past weekend, which included both Saturday and Sunday, was among the slowest weekends in our history. It was just so incredibly slow. In light of that, a number of factors are presently affecting the markets in the near term, which I believe you all need to be aware of, since some really erratic swings are likely to occur. It's going to be insane, especially on April 2nd or 3rd when the reciprocal tariffs go online. Donald Trump will unveil his plans. I believe that this is a time frame that we really need to lock in and be certain that we are doing our best to make money here, because there will be some insane possibilities very soon. He will probably announce that he won't back out, and we will see a lot of market panic and lawsuits. However, it won't be GB going straight down from here. Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy is purchasing a significant amount of Bitcoin, but I do believe that we will continue to rise for a little while more before seeing some significant declines, which I will discuss shortly. The problem with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy is that they are not very good at timing the markets. Naturally, Michael Saylor finds it much easier to raise money when he observes the price of Bitcoin rising, and the reason for this is that the typical investor funding MicroStrategy is not knowledgeable about the markets. All they want is exposure to riskier assets, like Bitcoin, and they're naturally investing a lot more money when they realize that they're doing well. I try to teach many of you not to do that, but that's where most investors are. You're already performing far better than most of the markets, so congrats if you're not one of those people who are FOMOing on green days. With MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor essentially raises a lot of money by exploiting market mood when it is at its highest, and others become enthusiastic about it, which causes the price of Bitcoin to rise slightly further. Michael Saylor has a clever business plan, in my opinion, but everyone who purchases his stock, which he then uses to purchase Bitcoin, seems to be losing out. And I don't want that for you guys, which is why I'm providing you with this knowledge today. However, we can see that Bitcoin did recover $87,000 per coin after Michael Saylor purchased an additional 6,911 coins for $584 million. Alright, so it does have an impact, and at the moment we're witnessing a small snowball. I will admit that there is some movement, even though there isn't a huge snowball effect, but let's be clear, there are several things we should surely be cautious of at the moment. First and foremost, this is the stochastic RSI. We can see that we are in the overbought zone, and we have touched it for a short time before crossing it and beginning to sink slightly lower. However, now that the price action is a little more green, if it stays green for a few more days, we're probably going to return to the overbought zone, which is actually pretty risky area because, well, just look at the history. We've experienced a significant drop nearly instantly each time we've reached the overbought zone here. As you can see, we were overbought at this precise moment. We were overbought at the same moment when we peaked, as seen by this candle, and the orange and blue lines crossed immediately after, indicating a significant correction. The situation is the same here. Overbought immediately following a nice large rally, overbought immediately following a good large rally, correction immediately following nice rally, massive drop all the way down till we were oversold once more, correct? Thus, yes, this is undoubtedly one of the riskiest times to buy. I want to be really clear about that. If you are already purchasing futures positions, you should be ready to add a significant amount of margin if you are going long rather than short. Furthermore, we have seen instances where we were in fact overbought, such as right here, so I wouldn't necessarily go short right now either. Indeed, there was a little correction made at this same moment. However, before we eventually witnessed the true correction down here, we once more entered the overbought zone, correct? Having said that, we essentially just want to exercise caution in this situation. At this juncture, any kind of good catalyst has the potential to trigger a huge rally that might close out a short position, but any kind of negative black swan event will send the markets plunging. Astronomically speaking, we're talking below $2 XRP. If we experience some sort of black swan, we'll probably drop as low as 198. It is therefore a period of great prudence because the tariffs are so close. Yes, I am buying that dip and piling up heavily if we do see a black swan and fall to anywhere close to $2, correct? On the other hand, though, if we're going green, I won't keep having FOMO. I'm only going to keep the one long trade I currently have open and be prepared to increase its margin. Right now, that's essentially my plan of action. Having stated that, I did ask Grok for his opinion on the key consequences of tariffs. I believe that many of us have witnessed the effects of tariffs on the markets, particularly in February and March. As we can all see, it was incredibly unstable. In fact, every time tariffs were imposed, we had massive dumps, which was basically during the fear and terror phase of that tariff war cycle. As an example, some days had a 30% negative. After that, we either began correcting that same day or had a huge rally the following day. In essence, it is becoming a massive pump and dump system. That's essentially what we need to get ready for. Tariffs are the talk of the town, and everyone is talking about them. If the trade wars start on April 1st, April 2nd, or April 3rd, we'll see widespread fear in the markets and another financial meltdown. In other words, purchase each and every one of those red days completely. Then, as we've previously seen a couple times, we have that correction rally, up 30%. If we quickly return to this chart, for instance, between now and March 2nd, we saw a 34% increase, correct? That's an 18% dump. You can see it by there if you simply bought here in the beginning of February, say on the 24th, when we saw these huge corrections down 11%, and you kept buying like I did on the day with the negative 11%. On this day, you made another purchase, and for a little period, we were down even more than 11%. Right here, you purchased something at this level. Yes, you would make a lot of money if you could buy on these two drops and then sell someplace on this green day, as I did as well. Just make the little sell sign. Thus, yes. That's essentially how we should view the markets at the moment, shall we? On red days, you purchase, and on green days, you try to profit from your long-term spot holdings and futures positions, such as simply your ordinary XRP that isn't leveraged, but that's a separate narrative, shall we? However, we can also see Grok concurs. When I ask them if tariffs hurt XRP, they answer that the truth is probably a combination of both. It states that XRP may see brief drops as a result of market panic or a diminished willingness to take risks, as was shown in February when tariff news was accompanied by a drop below $2. However, XRP may experience long-term gains if trade disruptions continue and its usefulness is demonstrated. I also concur with this. That explains why I have spot holdings, which I intend to keep for a long time, correct? However, I'm profiting from this volatility in my futures positions, and I want you all to have the chance to do the same. Since I only do this in my Crypto Crusaders trading group, there are a lot of fantastic opportunities here. That's all.